Hey guys, I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I am going to tell you the story of what is probably the weirdest family heirloom I have in my possession. Back in the 1970s, toll painting, or now I think they call it decorative painting, was a huge craze, and my mom and both of my grandmas, and I think a couple of my aunts, all took classes and they painted on all sorts of things. My mom painted milk cans. She still has two of them to this day, and they're those things that you remember growing up with. And I don't know about you, but vintage stuff that I grew up with has a very special place in my heart. So when my mom called me and told me she was getting rid of this and asked if I wanted it, I don't know if I wanted it, but I had to bring it home. When I was growing up, this sat on the high windowsill above the shower in our upstairs bathroom. That bathroom had hot pink and metallic striped wallpaper. So the flowers were to match the wallpaper. And the side that was facing the window has just faded out over the years. I always knew growing up that it was a chamber pot and that my mom had painted it, and she was awesome and signed and dated her work, so I know she painted this when I was 5. It was there through my entire childhood. They didn't sell that house until I was probably in my 30s, so I think it was there the entire time. It had a plant in it. Nobody thought much of it. I always knew it was a chamber pot, and if you're going ick, yeah, I'm a little bit going ick, but it had a plant. Well, first of all, I assume it was clean when my mother painted roses on it. Second of all, it had a plant in it for 30 years. Then it sat for another decade without the plant, so whatever chamber pot germs this thing once had, I'm sure are long, long gone. But yeah, it still icks me out a little bit. I did not ask until a couple of weeks ago where the chamber pot came from. I guess, always assumed that my mom found it at a junk store. But no, it turns out that this is my great-grandma's chamber pot. The thing that I don't know, and that I would have known if I had asked the question 5 years earlier, 5 years earlier, Mom remembers this chamber pot being under the bathroom sink in great-grandma's house in the 50s. But by then, Grandma had indoor plumbing. Did this chamber pot come with her from her sod house in South Dakota in 1905? I am quite probably the only one on the planet who even cares if this was the one from the house in 1905. But I would really like to know, and if I had asked questions earlier and it never occurred to me that there were even questions to ask. If you've got old family stuff, ask while you can. Find out the history if you want to know. I don't expect that my children will keep this after I'm gone. Best case scenario, maybe it winds up in an antique mall with a little tag hanging from a thing. Antique chamber pot that was toll painted in the 1970s? Maybe. Are you a pack rat? Do you save family heirlooms? What is the weirdest thing you have saved? I would love to know, so tell me in the description below and tell me if you knew when I held this up what it was. It has been on the top of a bookshelf for a couple of years, and I grabbed it when we were evacuating the house for the wildfires because we had taken all of the important things and there was room left for a couple of random things, and it doesn't weigh anything and it's light, and this little part of my brain was going, at least you'll have a pot to pee in. Because I always grew up hearing the phrase too poor to have a pot to pee in, but never really fully appreciated what that meant until much later. And somehow in my head as a little kid, I was always picturing like a tin can from the old cartoons. I was never picturing this. And that's making me think a little too hard about what this is, so I'm going to set it down now. Some of you, I did a thrifting video a while back and they had painted saw blades, and I had a couple people asking questions about that. So I went over to my mom's and I got pictures of the milk cans. Her saw blades, unfortunately, are packed away where I can't get to them for a video right now. If I had my druthers, they'd be hanging on my wall at my house. But this was very popular in the 70s. That is when my family members were doing it. I don't know how far it went. And I swear they painted everything that looked like a good candidate for painting. And I love this old stuff. I have a crock that my mom did that has little chickens on it that I still keep on my sewing table and keep my rotary cutters and pens and pencils and stuff in. I will stick on the footage of those milk cans at the end. Thank you for watching. I think I've said that 3 times already. I am Michelle. This is my Romantic Tangle, and I'll be back with you with more videos soon. I hope you enjoyed my strange vintage show and tell. I think I'm going to put this up in the window of my sewing room, and it's due for a new plant, I think. I love this shade of red, and if Mom ever gets bored with this milk can, I will happily adopt it and bring it home to my house. These days, it serves as the trash can in her sewing room. The pattern for the little girl is from one of the Cornhuskers books by Bonnie Seaman, and I know that because a few years back I found a painted box at an estate sale, and it got me to doing a little bit of research. This, fortunately, is one of the cuter patterns. Some of her others have noses and just look different. I cannot remember if this one is a cream can or a milk can. Obviously, it does not matter what it is, and it is, again, that kind of vintage stuff that I love. Both of these have aged surprisingly well as far as they don't. I mean, they scream 1970s, but they don't scream 1970s in a bad, obnoxious, offensive way. Again, if Mom ever gets bored with these, they are coming to my house, and my kids are going to have to learn to love this stuff.